Oburu, Odinga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, the bill which is before us is a very, very important one, Mr. Speaker. It is an important one because, Mr. Speaker, we are a young democracy and we are maturing and we want to mature to be a mature democracy. Mr. Speaker, we don't want our standards of democracy to be compared with our neighbors and with the other countries in Africa. We want our democracy to be the best. We want to be compared with the best in the world. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, when we are talking of the IEBC, it is a very, very crucial tool in the election process, and we must not be partisan. Mr. Speaker, some people have mentioned here that when you make laws, sometimes you make laws thinking that you are on the better side of the divide and therefore you will always be there. But Mr. Speaker, things change and you might be at the other receiving end where you thought you will never be. So Mr. Speaker, when we make the laws, let it be for posterity, let it be for Kenyans, and let it be for improvement of our democratic process in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on this particular bill, I would like to support what is coming in the afternoon here, which is attached to this order paper as amendment proposed by the JLAC. Mr. Speaker, what I would like to comment on is on the inclusion of the Public Service Commission. Mr. Speaker, Public Service Commission is part of the executive, and the executive is also represented here through the majority side. Mr. Speaker, there is really no reason why that one slot should go to the Public Service Commission, and I would have suggested that it goes to the Parliamentary Service Commission, where there's only one slot suggested, so that one slot will go to majority and the other slot goes to the minority, so that it is balanced in that way, the way it has been balanced for the political parties liaison committee, where you have one for the minority and one for the majority side. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would also have liked the religious groups who are proposed to have 2 slots, to have at least one from the Christian community and the other one from the other communities, the other communities, which is Muslim and maybe others, but I think it should be Muslim, specifically Muslim and Christian, and that should be specified in the bill. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to say more, but I would have liked a situation where this particular bill is discussed in the Senate in a bipartisan manner, where we don't take partisan positions, but we consider everything that is presented before us here objectively and for posterity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I would like to support the bill. Thank you.
Karungo.
For people to go to court and say that if Parliament gives itself that kind of powers, we are actually emasculating out the rest of reflection of society, I do not agree with that ruling, and it's unfortunate. If it was not for the unique situation that we find ourselves in, Mr. Speaker, where the chairperson has now left office and 2 commissioners, and therefore we need to set up a selection panel to bring into place a constitutional commission, because, Mr. Speaker, you understand the urgency. If today, for whatever reason, there was to be a by-election, and you know there are many petitions in court, or even in the unfortunate event that for whatever reason a vacancy arose in any of the House, despite the constitutional provision that we have to do an election, IBC must carry an election within 90 days. There is no commission to run that particular. Therefore, this business is extremely important, Mr. Speaker. But I go back to my point on Parliament being the nominating body. This is a political process, Mr. Speaker. What I expected, perhaps our colleague, and it's unfortunate, as I've said, Senator Mtata is not here, to have argued, is how the composition of that 4 members of a selection panel is arrived at, so that you have the shade of the country. Because when Parliament is gathered like this, every form of political opinion in this country is reflected. And therefore, it is erroneous to argue that out of 7, if you give Parliament the power to nominate 4, you have actually rewarded Parliament. You know, Senator Okiya Mtata presents us with a unique situation, Mr. Speaker. Now he sits in JLAC. And I wanted to say this when he's here, but unfortunately, he is not here with us. As a member, say, of Justice and Legal Affairs or whatever committee of Senate, he will sit with us. But you may need to guide us, Mr. Speaker, if after listening to arguments, say, about a particular bill, the pros and cons, you know, members, before they conclude on or make a decision on a particular bill, Mr. Speaker, they take their time to listen to arguments from both sides of, or whatever people are presenting before us, and make a decision in the best interest of the country. If somebody was to sit in that committee, sit here, we vote together, the decision of Parliament or Senate, even as a house, carries the day. Then they move to court and use information, or what will then be referred to as evidence, that they acquired through the law-making process. Mr. Speaker, that presents us with a very unique constitutional equation that you may want to guide us and give a ruling on. Whether it is possible for a member to participate in our proceedings, then once you conclude, you go back and injunct the same house that you participated in. I don't think we've ever found ourselves in this situation, but it's something that I wouldn't wish to derail us. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this is a very straightforward process that I want to urge colleague senators that we quickly dispense of this business of nominating the 7 members of a selection panel. I have taken time to see the report of the committee that has been tabled here. There are various proposals, but I must say that I am disturbed by some of the proposals. Mtata reduced PSC from 4 to 2. Now JLAC wants to reduce from 2 to 1. It will take a lot of convincing for me to agree to that proposal that, Mr. Speaker, you want to legislate ourselves out of work. Surely, how can you be a member of Parliament and you don't believe that we can rise above petty partisan politics and do that which is good for the country? Anyway, we will make that decision in the afternoon, Mr. Speaker, when you are doing the committee of the whole, but I'd wish to listen to arguments, especially by members of JLAC, to convince us how they want to spread these 7 members. Because, you know, if you speak about the rank of the institutions that are being listed there, PSC to me is the most accommodative because it has both members of majority and minority. When you speak about interreligious council, because this country is unique, we have the members of a Christian faith, Muslim faith, Hindu. So I believe when they sit and we give them 2 slots, they will agree, pick a Christian and perhaps one of the other religions, either Hindu, Muslim, Rastafarian, or those ones of the ones Sifuna professors of Jehovah Wanyonyi, you know, any of those adherents, and bring us, it's just important that, because you're talking about religion, let it not be one religion that is proposing. And the rest can be followed, Mr. Speaker. I don't intend to take a lot of time, Mr. Speaker,